Chip Talks. So I'm very excited to bring this show to you guys. And I think that you're going to really hopefully enjoy this one in particular. So we're going to have a good time today. We're going to, again, tell some truths like we do on this show. We're going to try to get you some information that you haven't ever heard before, or perhaps haven't ever thought about things in the way that we will describe them. So what do we do here at New Pharma, and what am I an expert in? I'm an expert in human function. I've read more studies than you could possibly imagine, but what I study is human function. What got me interested in human function, or got me studying human function, is really the endocannabinoid system. So I started studying the endocannabinoid system, and what I found was there's a lot of disinformation, let's say, or misleading information about how we work, and that frankly, if we're not paying attention to how we work, that information can be used to mislead us, to really send us astray. Oh, and I don't have the camera on, so let's get the camera so you guys can see me blah-blahing. Yeah, hi everybody, there I am right there. So we will have a video portion of these podcasts, but we'll also have a audio version. So again, there might be things that you see that you're not obviously going to hear on the audio. I'll do my best to try to describe, if I'm showing you something or we're describing something that someone might be seeing via YouTube. So we'll try to make this as, let's say, customer friendly as possible. Again, the point here is to get information to you guys. I've acquired a lot of knowledge, let's say, over the years. And that knowledge is useful, to say it minimally. I believe that my knowledge is of God. I believe that, I started off patenting everything, and I'm not doing that anymore because I don't really think that's what you do with knowledge. So we'll figure out some other way to support ourselves with the knowledge that I have. But the knowledge that I have is to be freely given to you. So along those lines, let's talk about statins and let's talk about cholesterol. So to me, again, I don't want to bias you right off. We'll talk about this at the end, about how the variability, let's say, around cholesterol has been used really to fool you and to create a little mini medical model that has resulted in being very lucrative for the people that created it. So the sort of information about what is and what isn't, critical with cholesterol, and then your need for statins based on that information and the selling you of statins. Again, our insurance pays for that. So, if you're taking statins, guess what? Not only you are paying for those statins, I'm paying for those statins, as is anyone who has an insurance policy paying for those statin drugs. So it's nice you get them for $5, but again, a lot of the offset there comes from a lot of other people from a big insurance pool. We don't really think about things that way, but maybe we should. So first of all, every time we do one of these quickies, and I'll try to do enough of these quickies where we're covering, 90%, let's say, of human ailments, of things that can go wrong with us. And that way we'll have a quick library for people who, if you have high cholesterol, or, you're taking statins, then obviously this will be the one for you. And we'll point people to this one in the future. So we may be coming back to you from a point in future time. Hopefully we've got all this stuff figured out. But anyway, go back and listen to podcast number 1. It is the frame of reference. I'll always go back to it. But what's important, I guess, for this particular podcast, in reference to what we're going to talk about today, is that if you look at kind of our highest efficiency rating, so what does that look like? If we're running in our most efficient mode, how would we know that? And kind of what does that look like? Well, it really goes to mitochondrial efficiency. And we've got 3 switches in our mitochondria. And I'm going to make some analogies because it's just easier. But I'm going to talk a lot about these switches all the time. So go back and listen to podcast number 1. It's super important. But these switches are basically, let's say, your least efficient switch. And that is, I call that plant in the dark mode. Okay, so because we all get this concept, if I have a plant and I have it out in the sun and it's, sun is shining on it, I'm watering it, I'm giving it all the nutrients that it needs, ooh, that plant is going to do great. If I take that plant and put it in a dark closet and don't give it any water and any nutrients, it's not going to do so great. That plant will stay alive because, again, that plant has structures in it that are going to keep it alive. But most of the energy that that plant has is going to be to keeping it alive rather than really helping it flourish like it would be out here in the sun, right? So we have plant in the dark mode. So I put you in a dark closet, and again, you're operating, you're alive, but you're not at your highest form. You're not generating a real good immune response. Cognitively, you're probably not all you could be. Emotionally, you're not all you could be. You're a plant in the dark. And so we kind of understand this concept of plant in the dark. I'm going to come back to this a lot, so I'm going to use this a lot. And then plant in the light. Now, the cool thing is any plant we've got in the dark, it might be in there subject to all kinds of disease and all kinds of stuff. We take that guy out of the closet and we move him out into the sunshine. Boo, he comes back to life, right? And so we work in a similar way. I can create an environment for disease and sort of dysfunction and lesser function, or I can create an environment that's out in the sun, your highest expression of yourself, all you could be. So these two concepts relate directly, slow down, Chip, relate directly to mitochondrial function. So if you're running your mitochondria on glucose on a water-soluble substrate, that is our plant in the dark mode. If you're running your mitochondria on fats that we store and store as fatty tissue, that is our out in the sunshine mode. Now, we affect these two modes by our behavior, and this is super important. If I eat a meal for 5 hours, I go in a dark closet. I go and plant in the dark mode. And again, we're supposed to. That is when you sort of pull in, you're conserving energy, and you're beginning to do something called, you enter an anabolic state. So you start building things. So if you're sick, you're going to build immune mediators. If you need tissue repair, you're going to start building tissue repair. You're going to start building things. And we do this for 5 hours after we eat a meal. And a meal is kind of the determining factor. So when you eat, you'll flip to this state. You'll start running on sugar. You'll start basically optimizing and storing fats. By the way, this is why none of us can't lose weight. If you eat more than 5 hours or drink that Coke or energy drink between meals, your body is storing fat. You're not going to burn any. That's just the way you work. So for 5 hours after you eat a meal or drink a Coke or drink that energy drink, your body will be storing fat, not burning fat, but your body will also be building. So it will be in the process of building, repair, however you want to think about it, right? So, but building, or the scientific term for that is anabolic. So we will be building things. We'll be putting together molecules and building things. 5 hours after we eat, we flip. We go into a much more efficient state, our plant in the sunshine state. We begin to break down things. So we begin to be more catabolic, and we begin to break down these kind of master precursors that we have and use them to run our body and do all kinds of functions inside of our body. Now, super important that we go through these two stages, and honestly, our body is more efficient. It's way better in catabolic than it is anabolic. Okay, so that's just kind of the way that it is. We work kind of from these master precursors, and then we break them down, which is a catabolic exercise. So, what are master precursors? Any fat you can stick on a triglyceride, each of those fats will form a separate endocannabinoid, by the way. So any fat you can stick on a triglyceride, master precursor. You build many chemical mediators, endocannabinoids, lots of stuff from the fats that you stick on a triglyceride. Cholesterol, again, applicable to our conversation today, is a master precursor. And again, you build a lot of things from cholesterol. So your body, at least, just if you look at it kind of like how it's working and what it appears to want to do, it appears to want to take these master kind of precursors, these big long molecules, and store them and then use them when we're in catabolic states, right? Break them down and be able to use them to run our bodies. We do not appear to be designed to take smaller things, put them together, and then build stuff, kind of the opposite way, if you will, the anabolic way. Now, we have to have anabolics because, again, we have to build stem cells and immune mediators, and we have tissue that needs to be repaired, and we have all different kinds of reasons why you might need to build more cells, right? But again, you don't need to do that all the time, and you certainly only need to do that, or our bodies tell us we need to do that for 5 hours after we eat a meal, okay? So hopefully everybody's getting these concepts, because these concepts will come back to haunt you if you have not understood them. They certainly will, because we're going to get into them a little bit deeper here. So let me ask you, what do you think cholesterol is? Confused answer number 1, confused answer number 2, confused answer number 3. Chaos and confusion are the tools of whom? Yeah. So anyway, I'm kind of like, I'm an interesting guy. So if I see chaos and confusion, it's like, oh, that's something they don't want me to understand. I think I'll go figure that out, right? So there's a lot of chaos and confusion around cholesterol, but let me break it down for you. So again, cholesterol is something that is super important to building in our cells, in our bodies. So 40% of your brain, well, no, actually it's more than that, I think. I think 40% of your cholesterol is the right number. I have it written down. You guys can look this up. You can tell me if I'm wrong. That's even funner. Everybody likes to do that. So I'll say roughly 40% of the cholesterol in your body is in your brain. So when you need to build cells, cholesterol is like your little toolkit, right? So it's got all the wood and structural things. That if you're thinking of building a house, it would be your material delivery. So cholesterol is your materials that you need to be able to build cells, to repair things, to do things inside of our bodies. So cholesterol is a super important structural element that we use to build cells. Cholesterol is also a master terpene. Yeah. If you're a cannabis fella, or whatever the female version of fella is, fella with an A, I don't know, fella. If you're the female version of a fella, or a fella that is familiar with cannabis, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about, Chip? Cannabis has terpenes. People don't have terpenes. Well, people do have terpenes, and cholesterol is our master terpene. What do we use terpenes for? Sex hormones, regulate organs. So, testosterone is a breakdown from the master precursor cholesterol. Estrogen is a breakdown from the master precursor cholesterol. Progesterone, all your sex hormones, all your hormones, all your steroids can come from cholesterol. You can supplement in the middle of that, but I'd really rather make my own testosterone. I don't want that testosterone that's made by a cow or a pig. Anyway, but you can supplement into these systems, but I'd rather make my own, thank you very much, with higher processes, all right? So cholesterol is our master terpene. It is a master molecule inside of us. We use it to break down into lots of other things. So again, estrogen, testosterone are breakdowns of cholesterol. It is your master kind of, they call it an anabolic steroid, but again, it's not really involved in building. It is something that you use you tear it down, so you catabolize it to make other steroids. But it's kind of your one that, is your main one. Again, if you're giving your body a bunch of anabolic steroids, what does that promote? That promotes cell building and cell growth in muscles, right? So you're building, you're not tearing down. So if you take a bunch of anabolic steroids, again, that's going to make your muscles bigger, but it's also going to kind of get in the middle of your cholesterol process, which, again, it's better to let your body do these things than get in the middle of these processes. So cholesterol, again, is the building block of the cells. Your cells also make some cholesterol. So again, if you have some processes inside certain cells that will generate cholesterol, but generally you can think of this as something that you have to move around in our body. So let me ask you some quick questions just based on where we're at right now. Oh, there's more. Believe me, we're going to get into this deeper because I have some solutions for you. So if you have high cholesterol, please stick around to the end because I'm going to have some great things to tell you that don't have anything to do with statin drugs. So let me ask you this. So if you work out a lot, so if you do a lot of muscle building and things like that, would your cholesterol go up or down? Well, if you're muscle building, again, that's anabolic. You're trying to build things, right? So you're trying to build additional muscle mass. That's going to require additional juice. That's going to require additional, precursors and chemical mediators. So people who do a lot of weightlifting, who do a lot of muscle building will have higher cholesterol because they have higher needs to build things in places. And so that's done with cholesterol. So it's just like you can think of it as a little, and again, we'll talk about this when we get into LDL, HDL, but you can think of LDL and HDL. I'll talk about that in a second. So second sort of thing to ask you here is if your body is inflamed, are you going to have higher need for cholesterol or lower need for cholesterol? Well, you'll absolutely have higher need for cholesterol because your body's trying to repair. So again, it's trying to build, right? It's trying to repair. It's anabolic. So that's going to require more need for cholesterol. If you have cancer, is that going to be anabolic or catabolic? Well, cancer's building. It's trying to build. It's growing. So that's an anabolic exercise. It's going to require additional stuff. So again, if you have cancer, one of the potential consequences may be higher triglycerides, higher lipids in your blood, or higher cholesterol. And it just makes sense because your body is building and structurally building. Okay, so transport. I think I've got a really cool analogy for this. So think about you're a home builder, okay? So we're a home builder, and again, we start in on this house, and we have a need for materials. So let's say we're ready for our woodworking or sheetrocking phase. We got to whistle up our materials. So we whistle, and our materials arrive to us in a truck that's called LDL, low density lipoprotein, that is also known as, let's say, bad cholesterol, but that's a bad thing to call it. So when we whistle for our supplies, basically the truck that shows up is something called LDL, and that truck dumps off supplies, and it'll dump it off at the area of construction. So wherever we're trying to build things or fix things or repair things, we need our equipment and supplies. So our LDL truck will come, and after we've sort of done some repair and stuff, there'll be stuff left over. So like extra wood and nails and junk like that. So we'll shove them in another vehicle called VDL, and VDL will take all of those sort of extras and stuff like that back to the big warehouse, which is called our liver, okay? So that's about the best analogy I can come up with, but hopefully that makes some sense, is that, if we have a need to build cells, so again, if you're sick, if you're trying to repair areas, if you're inflamed, if you have cancer, if you're a weightlifter and actually building muscle, you're going to have a need to build cells and build, structures around cells or, repair, right? And so you're going to call up and you're going to say, give me some trucks because I need material. And guess what that looks like on a cholesterol test? Higher LDL. So again, if you're calling for a bunch of construction material, your LDL is going to be higher than it potentially normally would. If you're chronically inflamed, you will have high LDL. But LDL is more of it's not like it has to do with your heart, or it has to do with, what LDL has to do with is literally your body's need and understanding for construction equipment. So, how much cellular need, and then hormones too. Again, you might have some need for steroids and hormones in a particular area, like testosterone in a particular area. you're going to whistle up the truck and you're going to ask for an LDL to bring you some cholesterol and potentially some triglycerides for energy, right? So now the cool thing is how this all works in your blood system. So we'll get to that in a second. But just think of LDL as like the kind of the delivery truck that delivers materials, and then VDLs are like the trash, HDLs are like the trash pickup. So they're coming to the construction site to pick up the trash and then take it back to the factory where we can do things with it. Okay. So hopefully everybody's got those concepts. Those aren't scary at all. If you have high LDL and low HDL, again, that is probably the thing that we most need to look at, because for some reason your body is calling for construction materials, but you're not hauling off the trash. So, that might be a problem. Just having high LDL, again, there are limits here. So don't freak out, doc or pharmacist, when you hear Chip Talks. There are certainly limits here. And again, ask your physician what those limits are. I'm not a physician. I'm not a clinical practitioner. I'm a theorist. But ask your physician what those limits are. But within those limits, again, having cholesterol near that limit is not necessarily a bad thing. It just says that your body is doing a lot of work. It has a lot of need for construction materials. All right. So hopefully everybody's got kind of those concepts. Super duper important. So let's talk about delivery. And again, this is going to have to do with, why would you need a statin drug? Oh no, you have high cholesterol. Well, does that matter? Again, it depends. It just depends on what's going on with you. Something to be investigated. It's a little bit of a, it's not a red flag. Let's say it's a yellow flag that needs to be investigated, right? So that's a good thing. But if you have, high cholesterol, let's say, how does that work? So how does the cholesterol move around inside of you? Well, your liver is like the warehouse. So if I want to pack a truck full of construction materials and I want to send it somewhere, I'm going to pack that truck in the liver. Then I'm going to send that truck on its way. Well, the way that I send that truck on its way is in the blood system. Okay. So how does that truck know where to get off the highway and when to stop? And how does that truck stop? Because it's moving along and it's inside your blood. Well, what happens is really cool. Your endothelium, your blood vessels, basically, if you will, but they're called your endothelium, will develop a stickiness on the inside. And so literally that cholesterol, and it's called plaque, so you can read all about plaque. And I've left you guys some references. So if you're listening to this at home or in the car or wherever you might listen to it to, or you're watching it, there's some video references and there's also some paper references, but you might look at some of those, and there's some good animations on how plaque is formed and, how you, when you're bleeding too much and you do all that, coagulate. Yeah. So there's some good animations on that, but it's kind of the same thing as you form this stickiness. And again, this little cholesterol truck's coming along and he goes, oh, I'm going to stick right there because I know that that's where it needs to be. So that's one way that he delivers cholesterol in your body. So you stick, again, those areas of stickiness can become dysregulated and get too big. That's when plaque, kind of starts cutting off circulation in a blood vessel. But again, those areas are easy to dissolve too. And there's lots of natural processes that help do this. There are natural processes that get in the middle of all of these things. And again, as you understand herbs and how they work, natural products and how they work, they can be used to, slow down, speed up, change, alter any of the things that I'm talking about. So by the end of all of this stuff, I hope you guys will know all this stuff. You'll be as good of a mechanic as I am. That would be my hope. Okay. So again, your blood also works in the same way with immune mediators. So if you have let's say, you have an area that's injured in your body, how do you get immune mediators to that area? Well, they don't just go there. You've got to move them around in your blood. And then again, within your blood, you create a stickiness and those immune mediators will stick to that area. And then they get basically moved into the area of, that you're trying to repair or defend. But that happens in your blood. It also can happen locally, right? So anyway, how you work, right? Human function. That's what we study here. So, what can go wrong? Gee, a whole lot of things. But we need to understand, through all this context, plant in the dark mode and plant in the light mode and how those relate. Okay? So again, if you're sick, you need a period of time where your body's going to repair itself. If you work out a lot, you need a period of time where your body is going to repair your muscles and build new muscle. If you're inflamed chronically, or if you're fighting off an illness, whatever, you need a period of time where you build, anabolically build. And again, the way that that relates to metabolism is a state called fed. The way that that relates to mitochondria is our least efficient, is plant in the dark mode. So when you're in anabolic mode, when you're building things, you're in a dark closet. You're not out there in the sunshine, okay? When you flip, and again, you flip to a fasting state, that is a mitochondrial flip. There's literally a switch called AMPK. AMPK is really fun to research just on your own. So AMPK and how it relates to human health. But the reason that it's a positive thing is because it flips you to a 50 times more, it takes you out of the closet and puts you in light, right? So you're 50 times more efficient, 50 times more conscious, 50 times more energetic, 50, 50, 50, 50. You're more, obviously, in the light than you are in the dark. Okay, and when you're in light mode, you are functioning the way that your machine is built. You are breaking down higher precursors and using them to do things. So you're in a catabolic state. Now, micro systems can kind of go in between these, but in general, you're in a catabolic state. So you're breaking things down. Let me just ask you some quick questions. So, cancer, anabolic or catabolic? Cancer is anabolic, right? Again, you can control the state you put your body in. Don't eat for more than 5 hours. You will go in a catabolic state. Your body will start breaking things down rather than building them up. Will that cure your cancer? No. But it may help basically your body begin to defeat that cancer, not let it proliferate so much, bunch of different things, okay? So fasting will give your body the horsepower to better deal with that cancer in the same way that a plant in the light will better deal with disease than a plant in the dark would, okay? So just literally that simple. Okay, so how does this relate to high cholesterol, pharma, the way that we've treated high cholesterol in the past? And are there other suggestions or solutions to be able to treat high cholesterol? And this is great. Again, our products help you sort of trend toward all of these things that I'm talking to you about. You can certainly supplement into these systems and cause bigger changes, but that's kind of got us right where we're at, right? So trying to supplement into systems we don't understand and not understand the consequences has honestly created a lot of the human disease that we see. So, a lot of what we see is created. And again, I'll tell you the statin kind of business model and, what they've done, and then we'll talk about a way to treat this naturally. So in the 80s, I guess it was, and this was pretty well known. I mean, as I just look at human function and knowing what I know about cholesterol, it's a variable. So again, if you're in an anabolic state, your cholesterol is going to be higher because you need more construction material. You got to whistle up more trucks, right? If you're in fed, your cholesterol will be higher. If you're in fasting, it will be lower because you're breaking things down. You're breaking down cholesterol. You're not building things with cholesterol. Yeah. So again, just right there, I mean, that kind of illustrates a point of variability in cholesterol. If you're a weightlifter, your cholesterol will be higher. Again, if you stop lifting weights, it's going to go down. So there's a lot of variability, and there's a variability in cholesterol on a daily basis. Again, if you eat a meal, your cholesterol will change. That's what I'm telling you. So for 5 hours, you'll have a cholesterol change, and then it will get lower. So it will get higher for 5 hours, and it will get lower after 5 hours after a meal. It's that variable. Well, if I'm a smart businessman, and again, I'm never will put myself in this category. I'm an ethical human, but if I'm a smart businessman or an evil pharma executive, I guess is a better way to look at it, but I'll give them credit. I'll just call them smart business people. So if you're a smart business person and you understand the variable in cholesterol, well, again, anybody I test at times will test for high cholesterol. So just about anybody is a potential customer. Wow, that's nice. So anybody I can sell statins to, just depending on kind of your general health at the time I test you. I can create a situation that makes your cholesterol high where, pharma would think you need statins, okay? So that's kind of the game. That's what's been done. Cholesterol is a good indicator of health, but you have to have all the nuance behind what cholesterol is that really I've just given you in this podcast. Most physicians do not have this nuance. They don't understand any of this. They are a mechanic who understands how to work on a certain part of your vehicle, a very specific part of your engine. They understand that. They may understand that better than I do. But they don't understand how holistically that might impact you or affect you, even though they're making positive change in the area that they're trying to make it in. So, statins, perfect example. How do you make cholesterol? Well, you have a kind of what mitochondria do or how mitochondria work is they use something called the Krebs cycle for fuel. And you can, input into the Krebs cycle different things and get different things out. But one of the outputs of the Krebs cycle is something called HMG or HMG-CoA. You compete for something called CoA with several different processes. But cholesterol, the process of building or synthesizing cholesterol, is you use something called HMG-CoA. And it's a process off the Krebs cycle, so it's a super citric acid cycle, but it's a super duper high process in our body. Again, you're going to build cholesterol when your cell is in anabolic mode. You're going to build cholesterol basically roughly for 5 hours after you eat. So for 5 hours after you eat, this switch is going to be on to generate cholesterol. But it's called HMG-CoA basically. So you're building HMG-CoA or using HMG-CoA to build cholesterol. Malvanic acid. Malvetic, something like that. But anyway, that is basically that in HMG-CoA, or the precursors for cholesterol. So high level stuff. But anyway, your body though, just by eating, you put yourself in cholesterol building. So if I eat a meal or drink a Coke or drink an energy drink, I am going to be building cholesterol. I'm not going to be eating, let's say, or breaking down cholesterol. So if I have high cholesterol and I eat more than 5 hours, my cholesterol is going to get higher. It's not going to help me at all. Okay, is what I'm telling you. If I if I basically stay in fasting as long as I can, so if I just eat kind of one big meal a day, let's say, and fast until the next big meal the next day, I'm burning cholesterol. I'm tearing it down. I'm using it to build other things from. Okay, so if you want to deal with your own cholesterol, you have it within your own power to do. If you want it to go down, just don't eat more than every 5 hours. In fact, try to go as long as you can between meals. Statins do exactly the same thing that I'm telling you. They invoke an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, and that enzyme shuts down the process. So again, this is a kind of statins will jump a bodily system and kind of create, at least as to HMG, a situation that looks like we're in a fasting metabolic state that will stop the production of cholesterol. Now, a lot of other things happen when your body wants to be in a state and you're forcing it not to be, that aren't necessarily so good. I think everybody can appreciate that. So again, what's your natural process to stop making cholesterol? Don't eat. Don't eat for more than 5 hours, and your body will stop making cholesterol. As soon as you eat for 5 hours after that meal, your body will start making cholesterol again. It's just the way that you work, and it's just that simple. Okay, so if you're out there and you have high cholesterol, Chip just said a whole bunch of stuff. What does it actually mean? Oh my gosh, tell me what I need to do, Chip. Intermittent fast would be the first thing that you can do. And what is intermittent fasting? That's trying to limit your eating to a 6 to 8 hour window, let's say. Well, first, let me give you this information. Again, this is in episode 1, so this one's getting a little long, so I'll try not to go too far down the rabbit hole with this. But we all know about a bear, right? So again, a bear goes in that cave. Listen to episode 1 for Holly the bear. It's great. It's a fun story. But we all know that a bear goes into that cave, and a bear lives for, 3 to 5 months on zero. They don't eat. They don't drink. They don't do anything. So again, you're not going to starve, boys and girls. You're just not. Starvation is a fugazi. It's a false flag. It's something that's there to scare you. You will get hungry for 24 to 48 hours if you miss a meal and don't eat. So for 24 to 48 hours, you may feel like you're going to starve, but that is just your body's need for sugar. That is just your body's need for glucose. So after 24 to 48 hours, and again, this is I don't think I have this in the references I did, but this is just documented fact. Your body will start using a different water-soluble fuel rather than glucose. It just takes 24 to 48 hours for all the dietary sugars to burn out of you. But after 24 to 48 hours, you'll start using ketones. In fact, ketones will rise in your blood up to 48 hours after your last meal, and they'll kind of stabilize after 48 hours. But you'll use ketones for the organs that want to use water-soluble fuel, like your brain, because it's ionic, and it has to use electricity, and your liver, things like that. But they run far better under ketones than they do sugar. Again, for 24, if you are going to fast for a day or 2 days or 3 days or whatever, just know that, and you can read reports of this. It's better to read other people's reports. This is anecdotal for me. I'm going on someone else's evidence. I haven't done this. But the reports are, and again, the science says 24 to 48 hours after you last eat glucose, your body will consume it all, and you'll have a need for ketones. But what you'll feel that as is far, far less of a need to feel like you have to eat, that physical craving for food, let's say. That goes away. So people are able to fast for, months. But anyway, all you got to do to get rid of your high cholesterol is fast. And you can read accounts of these people that do that. So what I'd recommend, though, is this, try to eat in a 6 to 8 hour window. Don't eat anything in between. You can drink water. I like sweet stuff, so I put a little stevia in my water, and that's, plenty good enough to satisfy my sweet, let's say, need. Cindy, my wife, likes citrus flavors, so she puts a little lemon, or you can put a little orange, just a little bit though. You don't want to go over 50 calories, and you don't want to give your body too much sugar, even in the form of a good, like a fruit sugar or any kind of stevia, anything like that, a carbohydrate, because it'll flip you into fed. So you want to kind of be careful. But again, you go 6 to 8 hours of eating, eat whatever you want, eat as much as you want. It's better if you understand to eat during that time period that you're eating for the things that basically you make triglycerides, what you're sticking on are triglycerides. So saturated and monounsaturated fats in balance, and then omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in balance. So if we eat those things, we don't have much need for a biome. And again, that's just going to translate to better health. So you have this within your control. That's always my biggest message. You have the ability to heal yourself. Your body wants to be a plant in the sun. It does not want to be a plant in the dark. Most of us, just by how much we eat and when we eat, live in plant in the dark mode. So hopefully I'm painting you a picture of how much better really you can be, how much better your health can be, how much better you can function as a human. And that's what I want to do. I just want us all to function at our highest selves, our highest processes, to be all we can be. That's why God built this canister, my friends. And God wants us to take good care of this canister so we can be the best things we can be in this reality right now. thank you guys. Hopefully this has been a good one. A lot of people out there suffer from high cholesterol. A lot of people out there are on statins. Again, don't just quit and start fasting. Ask your medical professional. Slowly work off the statins, would be my suggestion. But you have your solution, my friends. See you guys.